Today we are going to put flower stickers everywhere on everything. They're called all kinds of different things. I call them flower stickers. Some people call them flower tattoos. There's all kinds of things, but the premise is that you can put flowers anywhere on anything. And so this piece that I've created down here as a little sample is what we're going to work on creating today. And before we get started with it, I just want to share some of the key components and kind of some of the usage, just to kind of get you thinking about how this simple use of materials and mechanics can really allow you to do all kinds of different things with flowers. So don't feel that it's limited to this particular project. There's all kinds of things you can do. So all of the things that you're seeing on this piece have been gone on with a floral glue. And they are attached using just a simple piece of felt, and you can purchase this anywhere that any type of craft store. So it just peels off the back like a sticker and is adhesive there, and then the front provides a great surface to work with the floral adhesive and to get all of your components locked, loaded, and ready to go. So you can actually adhere this to, you can put this on the skin. You'll just want to be aware if you live in a place where it's really hot and there might be a lot of sweat, might become kind of loose, but for a photo shoot or something like that in a little bit more of a controlled environment, but it can stick to someone, it can stick to something like the vase that I had it here. You can pop it on to a top or something like that as well, and you don't even have to use the adhesive part of this. You could actually just use it with the backing on it if you wanted to, and you can still use a pin to adhere to the fabric. So if it's a really expensive fabric, you can kind of give people the option of, well, would you like to do some kind of adhesive, or would you like to do a pin, or would you like to do a magnet? And so you can actually glue a magnet to the back of this felt as well, and that is going to provide you with a really great surface to be able to get all of your components on there that this type of apparatus wouldn't allow you to glue so many things directly to. So this is just such a simple, easy little cheat that you can do all kinds of things with. You can cut them into any shape that you can imagine, because it's just a piece here. So if you have this vision to see flowers, coming down someone's forehead and all this kind of stuff, if you can cut it with the felt is flexible. You can just adhere and you can stick it to just about anywhere. Another idea is to put it right onto a floral cuff to make some floral jewelry. So of course you could glue your products directly to the cuff if you wanted to, but this is a really great way if you think that the cuff might be used again potentially. All the flowers and things can just come right off of the cuff pretty easily, and then this can be reused by the client if they wanted to use it as a bracelet or make something else at a later date or whatever. So anyway, I've had it stuck on and off a lot of different things today, but this is another idea for something sweet for a corsage that is nice and trendy and looks like a piece of jewelry. So anyway, let's go ahead today and put one of these together. Also wanted to mention, if you needed to make like a flower necklace or something like that, you can glue directly to this, and there you have a surface to go and to put something together there. You could do really all kinds of endless possibilities. I'll stop talking and start doing now. Okay, so we are just going to cut a little piece of felt here. We don't need a whole lot, but just a little bit. And this comes, of course, in all kinds of different colors. I did one in black, and this one we'll do in white. And ingredients, I've got a little bit of umbrella fern here, some geranium foliage, some not seeded eucalyptus, this is willow eucalyptus, some little alliums, little hydrangea buds, scabiosa. We're going to pull these little seed pods off, some explosion grass, and some pennycress. And before we jump in here and get our glue rolling, I am going to go ahead and put on this mask. It's like we'll be doing flower surgery together. Really serious, really serious work. Glue just has acetone in it and a lot of, well, not a lot of, but it smells yucky. So anyway, we're going to keep those things out of our system by just using a simple mask. No big deal. And when you're choosing ingredients for products like this that will be out of water, whether it's a corsage or boutonniere, anything where the flowers need to be out of water, the key is not necessarily a specific ingredient, in my opinion. The key is how well hydrated and where this flower is in its life cycle process. So, for example, I had pulled some umbrella fern whenever I created this piece. And if you look closely, now this has been, I made this probably about 8 hours ago. So this is what it looks like now. And you can see how the pieces are kind of curling. I don't think it necessarily detracts from the look of it. I think it's a pretty texture. But this particular piece was not as well hydrated as this piece is. And it can really vary from stem to stem. It can vary from product to product. I would not always use geranium leaves, but these ones are holding beautifully, and it's just the right time in the season for them. So anytime you're thinking about what to use, anything that, like pennycress has this almost like a dried kind of feeling. The same thing with grass. These seed pods are dried. So get a mixture of things that you know are dried and are going to hold up really well. Or like, for example, this eucalyptus, it's a very smooth feeling kinds of thing, very leathery. That's a good clue as to whether or not it'll hold up well in water, or without water, I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll grab our felt here and get our little geranium pieces organized. So we want it to be well balanced in terms of size. So if we just layer them all in there like that, we have a nice little ruffly base. So let's go after this glue. It's good to keep the glue vertical wherever possible and just to very, very lightly squeeze. And you want to let it set up just a little bit. So about 10 seconds, you'll start to see it actually get a little bit more tacky. And then you'll know that you are good to go. You can apply it directly to the felt as well. Really, we're wanting to avoid bulk, so I don't need these stems to be in here, so they are just going to get clipped right out. It's a little bit different than if we were wiring it. All right, so next we'll add some of this fern. Now the tricky thing about the fern is that it can appear kind of pointy and very strong. So placement's important, paying attention to how it makes the piece move. It's going to be important. I think that's one of the reasons why I like that it's curling a little bit in this other piece, actually, because it's not quite so rigid. So you can start determining your placement by just setting them generally where you think they will go. And with corsages and things like this, I like to layer them if possible so that you do get the same kind of depth that you would have if you were making a more complex flower arrangement. So putting them between some of these layers of geranium foliage is nice and can add some really great interest. So that's what we've got. I think I'll add one more or one less. We'll see. I think we'll just pull this one out actually and go that route with it for now. And we'll save these if we see that we need them a little bit later. Sometimes once we get going with the gluing, it can be helpful to have a little bit of a stem at the end, especially towards the end whenever you're putting some things in that need to go down and secure and stick into something. But when you're working right there directly on top of the felt, you don't need any stems there. And those were pretty thick stems, and these are very thin. Anytime you're doing stuff that's going to stick or pin to the body, being really mindful of how much it weighs is something that I recommend. So I try to stay away from heavy ingredients, and if I do have an ingredient that's a little bit heavier, I like to go sparingly on that. So this is very, very lightweight. Let's take a look at these. I think, again, with these being really pointed and having a strong line to them, how they're positioned is important for the composition of the piece. So I'm just going to arrange them in this little bit of a gradation of size. Put a little bit of pennycress in next, and I am going to snip right there where I have some lower branches so that the glue can kind of attach to all three of those little pieces and give me some extra stability. Not a must, but it'll be nice for this, I think. You'll notice, like I mentioned before, some are going under, some are going up, so we get some depth in the piece. These little scabiosa seed pods. And those are just broken off of this pod very gently. Okay. The mask is kind of nice for these because they're stinky when you break them at first, but they'll be okay once they get glued in. Onion family. Okay. Just like whenever I'm choosing ingredients for bouquet or centerpiece or anything like that, the same types of thing, I think through the same types of things like the size. So I have a large one, a medium one, a small one, an even smaller one. I'm thinking through placement and how that affects the way that it looks overall. A lot of times our eyes love to see things in order. And I have a little bit of this grass too. Pop a little bit of texture, a little bit of a, everything has texture, but this has all these little seed heads that are a different texture than everything that you see here. So really it's just I'm adding a new variety in texture. One that's a little bit more rough, I guess you could say. All these smooth things. So there you have it. Just a cute little flower sticker that can go just about anywhere. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.